Good morning. So, question of the morning is, was Charlie Kirk a white supremacist, or is this just more left-wing lies and smearing and misinformation? Because they disagree with him, right? So once again, the question of the day is, was Charlie Kirk a white supremacist or racist, or is left-wing media just lying and smearing him because they disagree with his opinions? So, before we get into that, I want to talk about our media landscape. You guys subscribe to me, you know I'm not happy with American media, but unlike most people, I'm not just focused on the media that says things I disagree with, right? I'm not just, oh, corporate news is so bad, and then, I'm not so worried about independent media, which is worse, right? Or I'm focused on right-wing media is so bad, but I don't see the issues with left-wing media, right? I recognize the institution of American media, whether it's corporate or independent or left-wing or right-wing. I recognize it as broken. I recognize it as toxic. I recognize it as dishonest. I recognize it as overwhelmingly propaganda, including the propagandists who call their competitors propagandists, right? I saw the propaganda network, The Vanguard, a channel that I admittedly watch quite frequently, calling out another propagandist, David Pakman, as a propagandist. It's kind of the Apple thing where they act like the iPod was something different than just an MP3 player. It's like you have MP3 players and you have iPods, right? They all play MP3s, but ours is it's an iPod. It's something different, right? So those guys are propagandists. We are, we're not that. We're just something different. So I, unlike the people in this business, because I'm not in this business, I do videos talking about politics, but the distinction is that it's not a business for me. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to make this like a, right? I'm not interested to the type that can be wiped, right? That's a conflict, right? That's a conflict of interest. So rather than focusing on, informing their audience and telling the truth, there's a preoccupation with what's going to get them views, because that's how they make their money. Even the ones with the Patreon, I exposed that scam a long time ago. And it's not entirely a scam, but the devil's in the details, right? People act like, subscribe to my Patreon so I can be a true independent journalist, because I have Patreon, that means that I can speak the truth and I don't have to worry about corporate sponsors. Where's the reality? Again, no matter how you slice and dice it, the only way you can pay your bills, if this is how you pay your bills, is you have to entertain the audience. You have to do what gets you clicks, right? And even the part, if you're making money from AdSense, like even if Patreon is on top of that, right? To fill in the gaps of AdSense. If AdSense is a big part of your money, you're still beholden to corporations, right? Who do you think is advertising on your channel? Do you think because you don't directly speak to them that it doesn't matter? Let me see. Let's say you want to make your whole channel talking about Nazis, right? Literally every video is talking about Nazis. Let me tell me how your AdSense is going to look, right? Since, I am independent and I have a Patreon, and since I have a Patreon, and I don't have to, I'm not beholden to corporate sponsors, right? See how your AdSense be looking if all you do is talk about Nazis. When the corporations look at your channel, they're like, nah, we're not trying to advertise. If you're making money from AdSense, regardless of whether you're directly involved or not, you are beholden to the corporations and are not fully independent. Because corporations have control over what you say. Now, YouTube, another corporation, will act on behalf of these corporations to the best of their abilities, right? But otherwise, you got multiple corporations dictating what you can and cannot say on this corporate platform. Meanwhile, you are misleading your audience about, oh, Patreon, I have Patreon. And the other thing I always tell people is, listen, man, you can't make money from Patreon and people aren't watching your videos. If people see their credit card statements and they see they've been paying money to your channel and they haven't watched your channel in a year because the algorithm is not promoting your channel because the stuff that you're putting out is not stuff the corporations want you to be talking about. Corporation being YouTube, but YouTube really doesn't care. YouTube doesn't care what you talk about. What they care about is how you affect their bottom line. And the way you affect their bottom line is by pissing off the advertisers who are the ones paying YouTube and you. So, is Charlie Kirk? Ultimately, the people that you enjoy watching, they're not your friends, they are entertainers. So the question is Charlie Kirk a racist? Is Charlie Kirk a white supremacist? That is the question of the hour. So, if you are an entertainer, like pretty much all the left-wing channels you guys watch, all the right-wing channels you watch, right? Your response to that is going to be very casual, right? It's going to be very informed by your bubble, right? You watch, you go on Twitter and you see what the left-wing people you follow, what they're saying, and they'll make a strong case that Charlie Kirk is clearly a white supremacist. Look what he said. He says black pilots are, if I see a black pilot, I want to know whether they qualify or not, right? Thought crime here, right? Clearly he's a white supremacist. Who else would say something like that, right? If you're watching dishonest right-wing media, their thing is not to talk about what Charlie Kirk said, but to debunk what the left is saying about it, right? Right after that, they clipped out the context. They clipped out the context. After he says specifically that, he doesn't have a problem with black people and whatever, and he said he's not like that. That's not how he is. He specifically said that, and the left is hiding this. Kernel of truth to that statement. I don't think anyone in left-wing media wants to talk about that part of it. But since I'm not an entertainer, I'm here to inform my audience and get them to unplug from propaganda, to get them to embrace truth and reality. I tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right? So I'll talk about that disgusting statement about, when I see a black pilot, I wonder if he's qualified or not. I talk about his lies about DEI, pretending like, DEI is allowing pilots that aren't qualified to be pilots. And I'll also talk about how he says, I'm not like that, right? But I'll inform you that is the dishonest hedging that he does, right? If I'm an entertainer, I don't need to go into that level of detail. Just call him a white supremacist. He's racist, he's a white supremacist, clearly he's a white supremacist. And I show a clip of him saying something that clearly is racist. And that's it, end of story. No nuance, don't need to understand anything else, right? I don't even need to worry about, media, right? But there's no need to preemptively address what obviously the right-wing media is going to say, right? We know how they operate. So to not address the part where he says, I'm not like that, is to be negligent because you're giving the right wing a layup. All they got to do is show the full clip and then say you're mischaracterizing his words and you're not showing the context, right? And their idiot audience will be like, oh, see, he left it lie, right? If you guys took your job seriously and you operated in a professional manner, right, and you really were trying to fight against the right-wing media, then you would have addressed this, right? You'd not only talk about, I think that Charlie Kirk is racist, or you said something racist, and here's the evidence, this is what he said, right? But you'll also say, and by the way, right after that, he says, I'm not like this, whatever, but clearly he's just doing that to give sort of a plausible deniability, right? So you give your audience the full story. Yes, he said something that's racist, and here's him saying it. And also after he said that, he tried to hide behind this, basically, I'm gonna call that a mostly peaceful, right? He pulled a mostly peaceful on the rhetoric. That being said, is Charlie Kirk a white supremacist? The answer to anyone with integrity who does not know the man is, I don't know if he's a white supremacist or not. What I do know, and I want to be very clear, what we're doing here, the distinction between what I'm doing and what a lot of these left-wing channels are doing, is I'm sticking in the world of reality and facts. Things that I can demonstrate to be true. Demonstrable truth, right? I don't know if Charlie Kirk is a white supremacist, but what I do know, or was a white supremacist, what I do know is he is comfortable being accused of it. In fact, he might even embrace it. I don't know if Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist, but I do know he was okay people thinking that he was. Did he intentionally try to appear to be a white supremacist? I don't know, debatable. Was he virtue signaling and what's the term, dog whistling to white supremacists? Perhaps. Likely, in my view. But was he himself a white supremacist? I don't think I have any evidence, any solid evidence. I have evidence, obviously. And that's the thing, people talk in absolutes, right? There is clear evidence that Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist. The question is the evidence solid enough to convict? Right? If we were in a court of law, could we convict Charlie Kirk of being a white supremacist? I think not. I don't have enough evidence to convict him posthumously of being a white supremacist. I certainly have evidence of it, right? The things that he said seem to indicate he might have been a white supremacist, but I can't definitively say whether he was or he was not. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Let's talk about the was he racist. I do not know whether Charlie Kirk was or was not a racist. No other left-wing channel, no other wing channel, no other channel, period, is going to tell you that. He was wings of an angel. He was preaching the word of God. He was a Christian man, and he was a father. That's what some will tell you. The others will say, he was a white supremacist. He was clearly a white supremacist. Obviously, he's the worst supremacist. Right? Was he racist? I don't know. They know the man. I can't know his thoughts. I did not see enough evidence to definitively say whether he's racist or not. Would I be surprised if he was racist? No. But I'm not going to go around and say he was racist. And actually, to be honest, calling people racist is a difficult thing for me, unless they are overtly racist. And some would say Charlie Kirk was overtly racist. But the nuance, right? And this is where the people in independent media, mainstream media as well, where they fail you. What's the nuance? American media is very fake, right? We're in a country where a lot of Americans believe that Santa Claus is real. A lot of Americans believe that wrestling is real. I'm here to say that wrestling is fake, right? So people are having a debate about, I can't even think of wrestler names anymore. The Undertaker, he can't beat whatever. And I'm like, it's all scripted. It's all scripted, right? But the folks in the media aren't informing you that. And that's the thing that's important. It's important that you inform the audience how the game is being played, right? A lot of the people, so you as a left-wing media person, a lot of your audience doesn't realize just how fake media is in this country. Certainly they realize how fake people they disagree with are, right? But you must inform them that it's not just people that they disagree with. It's people they agree with as well who are very fake and are playing a character, right? This is important information that you must inform your audience about, right? Because I understand the game, I realize that you have to discount what people say on their channels, right? A left-wing channel could actually be run by a conservative. Not likely, because that's not where the money is, but it could be. That's the landscape we're in. A right-wing channel could be run by a liberal. Much more likely, because again, that's where the money is, right? Charlie Kirk had billionaires funding his organization, right? The Koch brothers, and a lot of money going to Charlie Kirk, right? Not so much to the Young Turks, even though they had, I think, a couple infusions of pennies compared to what Charlie Kirk would make, or a lot of these right-wing folks would make, like a Ben Shapiro getting donations from Mr. DeSantis and then acting like, oh, it's not a big deal, you know, right? So once you understand that these guys are fake and you view them as I do, like I don't look at Denzel Washington and judge him like what kind of a gangster he is, right? I don't judge Denzel Washington in terms of what kind of a gangster he is because I saw Training Day, right? I recognize that Training Day was a movie. He was playing a part. I don't know much about the man, right? I don't know him. I've never met him. I don't know what kind of person he is. I presume he's not a gangster, right? I presume he's not a gangster. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to base my... Charlie Kirk would do these debates with people from across the aisle and would pretend to be so reasonable and rational and like a nice guy, totally, you know, open and understanding, and you know, he doesn't care about your skin color or anything. He wants everybody to unite, and it's not about left and right, and you know, regular people are struggling, and kids are graduating from college and they don't have jobs, and things are tough, and you know, things are expensive, and this and that, and then you have your left-wing perspective, and he let you speak, right? very cordial, right? Hear your point of view, and then not gonna give you the name calling. He's gonna actually challenge your point, right? Come with some kind of a logical or seemingly logical argument, and good debate. Charlie Kirk did some, I would say, really good debate, right? The way it should be done. Half the people supporting Charlie Kirk only know that Charlie Kirk, that performance that he did. The other half probably don't know anything about that part of him, so they assume that the other side, the people that are supporting Charlie Kirk, they assume that they're all hate mongers and they like the hate and they're all racist, right? Because all they see is the other character that Charlie Kirk played, right? Charlie Kirk would get on his podcast, and that's where all those clips, not all of them literally, but most of those clips that you'll see from a left-wing channel saying Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist and he was racist, those are Charlie Kirk on his podcast just being an absolute maniac, right? Talking about DEI, talking about the judge, the Supreme Court judge, about she's a DEI, and they're admitting it. They're admitting that they're DEI, and they're not qualified. You're not qualified, and then black people this and black people that, blah, 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 right? Just the most unhinged Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I feel like I'm saying it the wrong way. That was Charlie Kirk. And this is the problem with not informing your audience about the truth and reality, right? And just feeding into the echo chamber, right? So all you focus on is Charlie Kirk was a racist, he's a white supremacist, right? So all your audience knows is that, and then all you show is those clips of Charlie Kirk being unhinged, right? So what you do then is you allow your audience to assume that anybody supporting Charlie Kirk supported his hate, because you're not informing your audience that Charlie Kirk was playing a game, right? Much more sophisticated than Tim Pool. Tim Pool does a similar game. He will literally go, and he admitted this, he'll go on Twitter and he'll tweet both positions, just like as a troll. That's a right-wing thing to do. Troll, like, because right-wing is like a movement of children in 2025, right? But Charlie Kirk did a much more sophisticated version of that, and you don't inform your audience of that, then they can't understand why someone that they once respected is saying about Charlie Kirk was a good man or whatever, because they're not informed by the propaganda left-wing media that Charlie Kirk was playing a game, unhinged on the podcast, reasonable in certain debates. I think even the college campus, I didn't watch a lot of those stupid videos, but I would assume, because he's trying to appeal to like normie people, I would assume in the college debates, he was on his best behavior. This is what they do. What's her name? Candace Owens, she does this as well. Say craziness on her podcast, and then she gets up on a show like a Bill Maher show. All of a sudden she sounds like, oh, this and that. No, left and right, and we need to come together. And I think this nation, we need to come to God, and right? That's the game they play. And when you, as a left-wing media person, don't inform your audience about the game, about how fake Charlie Kirk was, how fake left-wing and right-wing media are, then you are inadvertently adding to some of the division, because now you have someone who's a good person who only saw the angel part that Charlie Kirk played. That's all they saw. Now you have a problem with this person because you think that they're hateful, because the propagandists you listen to didn't inform you that Charlie Kirk played the good guy role at certain events, right? So your friend who's saying, oh, poor Charlie Kirk, maybe that's the only thing they saw, right? Maybe that's the only thing that they saw. And the thing about it is, this, and again, this is like malpractice, to be a political commentator and not give your audience that level of depth to how this stuff works, right? Because here's I'm going to give you that depth, right? How this works. Somebody like Charlie Kirk says the unhinged things that he does in his podcast, and then he goes on a normie show, sounds very reasonable, does a really, really good job, sounds smart and intelligent and reasonable, right? Open to other people's viewpoints, right? Sucks you in as a normie, right? You're a normie and that's all you see, right? You see Charlie Kirk playing this good guy part, right? You get sucked in and you get sucked into his ideology and oh, I can see what he's saying. I can see his point of view, right? And then, even when a left-wing media channel tries to inform you about the sickness that he talked about as well, because Charlie Kirk does that hedging that they all do, right? So let's follow the process. Charlie Kirk has sucked you in, got you to drop your guard because you saw the nice Charlie Kirk, right? And you feel like this guy's reasonable and he's not calling names and he's making the logical arguments or whatever. And then a left-wing channel shows you a video of him saying, oh, black pilots, I don't whatever. And you're like, oh, that's strange. Right? Then you go to Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder and they show you the hedge. They're not showing you the full context. They're not showing you the full context. And they play that video of him saying that same thing. Now remember, Charlie Kirk already has you, right? He got you to drop your guard. He sucked you in. So it doesn't take much to get you back on board, right? So a Steven Crowder shows a video of, this is what he said after that. After he said that, he said also that I'm not that kind of person. I'm not that kind of person, you know. This is not how I am, right? And that's all it takes, right? You don't want to believe that you were a sucker, that you were manipulated. Like, the hardest thing is to get somebody to believe that they've been scammed, right? You don't want to believe that Charlie Kirk tricked you, right? So it's easy to hand wave away whatever. So, the black pilot thing. Oh, actually, right? And it's the same thing with like a January 6th. Right? Someone gets sucked in with Ben Shapiro, seemingly normal, and actually, this and that, and actually, right? And then January 6th happens, and that person's like, what's really happening here? Even though Ben Shapiro himself said that it was an insurrection and all that stuff. We'll put that aside, right? Somebody like a Steven Crowder, let's leave Ben Shapiro alone on that one. Someone like a Steven Crowder, right? Because you already got hooked in with somebody, like a Tim Pool or whatever, right? You already dropped your guard, right? You have two paths that you can take. Accept that you are scammed. I see Miss Blue Ocean in the house. Accept that you've been scammed, which nobody wants to do, or accept any explanation that hand waves it away, right? So the people that you were listening to supported a movement that went into the Capitol and they attacked those police officers. That's uncomfortable. Oh, wow, I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel too good. Then Steven Crowder to the rescue. Da, 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 da. He takes his dick off of one of his co-workers' faces, because that's what he does. He takes off his dress, because that's what he likes to do, dress in drag, while talking about other people dressing in drag. And he puts on his little fake childish costume with his gun. Mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful, like an NPC. Mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful. Right? 101 things that happened that were like, whoa, this doesn't look too good. Steven Crowder, one phrase. Mostly peaceful. He said mostly peaceful. Or the alternative is, they let them in, they let them in. Look at the video. They let them in, they let them in. They let them in, they let them in, they let them in. Right? And that's it. Now you're back on the camp. Right? Tim Pool sucked you in and you were in the right wing and you're like, oh, the right wing's actually reasonable on the left. They're crazy. They're radical. Right? January 6th happened and you're like, oh, I don't know. Steven Crowder comes in, mostly peaceful, and you're like, oh, shoot. CNN didn't show that part. CNN is smearing. They're trying to attract conservatives and make them look like they did some kind of bad thing, but they're attacking Trump because their policies suck and they want trans swimmers. But the reality is, the truth is, Trump said mostly peaceful. Right? That's how the game is played. And all the left-wing channels that don't inform their audience about this, you're doing a disservice to your audience. Right? Your audience needs to understand how fake Charlie Kirk was. Right? And you need to be more interested in truth like I am. I'm not interested in putting out rhetoric and championing one team and going after another team. I want to know the truth. So just like with Donald Trump, when I wanted to know, is this guy an actual white supremacist? Where do I go? If I want to know about white supremacy, where do I go? Do I go to a left-winger? Do I go to a progressive? Do I go to a socialist to learn about white supremacy? Or do I go to white supremacists to know about what they think? Well, me personally, I like to go to the source, right? I'm not interested in what some left-winger says on Twitter. I'm not interested in what some progressive channel says. I want to go to the source. I want to go to actual white supremacists and know what the fuck that they think. So I did. I went to the white supremacist forums just to see, just like I did with Trump, what they think about Charlie Kirk. What did I find out? White supremacists do not claim Charlie Kirk just like they don't claim Donald Trump. Ironically, for similar reasons. If you watch TYT, if you watch a lot of left-wing media, your perception of white supremacy and white supremacists, it's going to deviate a little bit from the reality, right? Because they're focused on certain rhetoric, right? For example, I would not tell you that white supremacists like someone like myself, right? They certainly have a problem with people that look like me. Let's not make any mistakes there about that. However, the preoccupation and obsession of white supremacists are with Jews. Right? Listen to TYT, listen to typical left-wing media, right? And you will think that that's all white supremacists. That's it. It's black and white. It's literally black and white, right? No, it's not literally black and white. It's brown and pink. But anyway, you would think it's literally about this black and white concept, right? They're white. White is superior. Black is inferior, and that's what it's all about. But when you actually go to the source, what white supremacists are talking about on a regular basis, like when I go on the forums and I look and see what these guys, these morons, these retards are talking about, they're talking about the Jews, look what the Jews are doing, the Jews. That's what they talk about day in and day out. The Jews. Now, yes, they talk about people like me as well, you know, like I said. But their main focus is the Jews. So why do I bring that up? Because it's very important in understanding how they feel about how they felt about Charlie Kirk and how they feel about Donald Trump. So they do not claim either of these men. And why? I think you know the answer. Miss Blue Ocean, do you know the answer? Why do white supremacists not claim Charlie Kirk or Donald Trump? You should know the answer by now. What are they preoccupied with? The Jews. So why do they not claim either of these men? Because of the Jews. That's why. They have a big problem with Charlie Kirk's position on Israel, right? But again, I give you the full story, right? I'm not trying to push a rhetoric. If I'm trying to push a rhetoric, I just leave it at that, right? But that's not what I'm all about. I don't know why this guy's parked here, but anyway. I guess it was an accident or something. are they doing? Oh, I think they're getting people with that illegal turn. Anyway, so they don't support of the Jews. They don't like Charlie Kirk's support of Israel, right? Donald Trump, it's not about Donald Trump, this video, but Donald Trump was a similar thing. When I looked into Donald Trump and how they feel about him, white supremacists do not claim Donald Trump, right? You watch typical left-wing channel, Donald Trump is clearly a white supremacist and he's a white supremacist and this and that. But the reality is, white supremacists, actual white supremacists, do not claim him because of all the Jews around him, right? I'm pretty sure they have an issue about how he's handling Israel, but also in general, I think, Kushner, right? They don't like that he's got people like Kushner around him, right? If you got Jews around you, white supremacists don't want to have much to do with you. But again, I'm not here pushing rhetoric, right? I'm not here like I'm a centrist or whatever it is. I'm giving you the full story, so there's more to it than that, right? They may not claim Trump. They didn't claim Charlie Kirk, but they love the work that these men do. They love the work that Charlie Kirk was doing. Charlie Kirk was a blessing for this country to the white supremacists. They absolutely love him. So in some ways, Charlie Kirk was a tool of white supremacists, right? That's the nuance. You think about this, nuance is not sexy, man. It's easy to just say, Charlie Kirk was a white supremacist. He was a white supremacist and he's racist and whatever. I don't know why this guy didn't go, whatever. I tried to give him the go, he didn't go, now I got a red light. Anyway, that's more sexy, right? Just call him a white supremacist, he's racist and he's and whatever, and end it at that. Because when you add it to the detail of like, okay, he may have been a racist, he may have been a white supremacist, but I don't really know whether he was or he wasn't. What I do know is that he was okay being accused of it for sure. He wasn't really worried about you calling him racist or calling him white supremacist. I do know that much. I do know also that racists and white supremacists loved him, or not really loved him, but they it's the nuance, right? See, it's not sexy, man. I can't even say they loved him. I can't honestly say that they loved him. What they loved is the work that he did, right? That is not good for clicks and views, right? So if my point is to be an entertainer and to get clicks, I'm not gonna say that to you, man. Who cares? Let's just call him racist. He's racist, you know, white supremacist, right? But these details are important, right? I think it's important in general for Americans to realize how fake our media is. That's an important detail. And so when they are making their evaluation of what they believe and what they don't believe, right? And they're listening to these content creators, it's important for them to understand the games that are being played, right? How do you embrace reality and truth if you don't even know the game that's being played? It's like you are on a chessboard. You are a pawn on a chessboard, and you're not even aware that there's a board. You're not even aware that that's not a horse, right? That is not a horse. That is a chess piece. And it has a role to play, right? There's a strategy at hand, right? If you're not even aware of that, and that's how a lot of Americans are. A lot of Americans, as far as their media consumption, they're pawns, right? They don't even know that there's a board, right? They don't even know that there's these chess pieces and there's rules and there's moves, right? They're just sitting there, and you know, someone is a giant finger just sliding them across the board and pushing them where they want to. Some of them are getting taken off the board completely, and all the while they don't even know. And then the people that you listen to, that they're not informing you. They're not telling you, guys, it's not just about left wing or right wing or it's mainstream media is bad and independent media is good. No, American media is toxic and dishonest, and it is very entertainment focused, right? That is the game. These people are playing a part. You cannot know, and that's an important thing, right? Not giving that nuance, then people don't realize that when you watch someone, don't assume that what they're saying is what they believe, right? A progressive channel may not be run by a progressive. The person could be a socialist or communist, or they could be a conservative. Unlikely, again, because of the money, right? You watch a right-wing channel like a Tim Pool might be a liberal, right? Charlie Kirk could have been a liberal, right? Charlie Kirk could have been a liberal. Charlie Kirk, for all you know, could have been a socialist. We don't know his ideology. I don't know the ideology of any of these people, whether it's mainstream media, left-wing media, right-wing media. Our media is infested with characters playing a part. That is an important thing for anyone that is consuming American media to understand. When you turn on these channels, progressive, socialist, communist, conservative, centrist, understand that this is wrestling. You're watching wrestling. Almost no one is really being genuine, right? Some of what they're saying, I'm not saying they're lying, right? And it's not about whether you're lying or not. It's about whether you're being genuine or not. So I cannot assume Charlie Kirk's ideology. I don't know Tim Pool's ideology. I don't know Ben Shapiro's ideology. I don't know any of these people's ideology. I don't know the ideology of the Vanguard. I don't know the ideology of Kyle Kulinski. I don't know the ideology of any of these characters who entertain people for a living. That is what they do. They're not here to inform you. They're here to entertain you. And it's not to make it some kind of an evil intention or whatever. That's the business that they're in. That is what the algorithm promotes, right? The algorithm pushes them to entertain because they get rewarded for entertaining you. They get rewarded for playing certain characters. Some of them realize what they're doing. Some of them maybe not so much. They're human, right? After a time, I hate to be dehumanizing, but it's kind of like with an animal, right? Where you train them, you make a sound and they get a treat. And then in the future, they don't even think, right? They hear the sound, they think, oh, I'm getting food, right? This effect, I know we're still like we have this dark age mentality. We are animals. I keep hearing people like there's that statement about in Gaza talking about referring to the Palestinians as human animals. They are animals. Palestinians are animals. I'm an animal. You're an animal. We are part of the animal kingdom. It's 2025. Let's stop living in a dark age where we think we're something special. We are Homo sapiens. We are part of the animal kingdom, right? Kingdom animalia or whatever it is, right? We're animals, right? So just like a dog can be trained, so can us, right? The algorithm trains these YouTubers to put out certain content, speak in a certain way, right? It trains them. Some people are more trained than others, right? And that's not to say, again, I'm not saying these people are bad or whatever. Some of them are very bad, for sure. But some of them are just as much a victim of the algorithm as their audiences are of their content, right? They lose themselves. They get lost in the metrics and how many views and this and that or whatever, and they don't realize that they're changing over time. Some of them are lost. Some of them are truly lost. Many of the audience are certainly lost because of the people that they're listening to, right? So, was Charlie Kirk a white supremacist? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he was, but I don't have solid evidence that he was. All I know is he was okay with being accused of being a white supremacist. That much is clear. He wasn't worried about it. All right? Was he a racist? I don't know. Would I be surprised if he was? No, I would not. Right? What I do know is he was okay being called racist. Right? By his actions, he wasn't worried about it. What I do know is racists loved him. I do know white supremacists loved him. No, I see, again, you see how much I care about the truth, right? That statement is inaccurate. I don't think that white supremacists, or in general, or racists liked him. More so the white supremacists. They definitely didn't like him because of his stance on Israel, right? So it's important that I be as accurate as possible. So I don't even want to say that because that's not the full truth. The full truth is that, again, white supremacists loved the work that Charlie Kirk did. They didn't so much like him as much as the work that he did. So, in essence, does it really matter if Charlie Kirk was racist or not? Does it really matter if he was white supremacist or not? If he's putting out their talking points, and if they really love what he's doing, I guess the question I would pose is, what would be the difference between an actual white supremacist, racist Charlie Kirk versus one who perhaps just panders to those groups, intentionally or unintentionally? I don't know if you could unintentionally pander. But anyway, I think as far as the substance, I guess it doesn't really matter because the effect is the same. But if you care about facts and truth, then it does matter, because even though the effect might be the same, you know, whether he is or he isn't matters to me, right? I don't want to say someone is a white supremacist if they're not, right? That matters to me. So even if it doesn't really make a difference, right? Even if maybe, let's say Charlie Kirk he did the exact same thing that he would do if he was a white supremacist. He did the exact same thing, but that's not actually what he believes. He's just playing a part, right? I still care to make that distinction that, hey, this guy might as well be a white supremacist, but he actually wasn't, right? Because I care about truth, right? Because I'm not here to entertain. Get out of my car, you mosquito. There's always some random mosquito in my car. I actually care about the truth, right? That is not what you're going to get from your typical left-wing channels, right-wing channels, mainstream media. Less so mainstream media, right? They, ironically, as dishonest as they are a little bit more truth focused, whereas independent media is more focused on rhetoric and pandering and propaganda, right? What mainstream media does more subtly for profit reasons, right? A lot of folks in independent media do more directly and more overtly for ideological reasons. Not always. Some of it is money as well, but many of these guys are really ideological, as opposed to in mainstream media, it's really about profit. It's capital is that a word? What's up? Econ is in the house. Blue Ocean is in the house. I'm Jane. I really hope that you watch my show. It really has to do with the Who Really Rebels and Fuentes and Kirk Rebels. When is that? Here's a stereotype for you. The reasons why they talk about the Jews so much is because, man, I wish I could. My eyes are horrible. I gotta read that. I gotta read that offline. That's one thing about doing streams while I'm driving. I can pull it off safely, but not reading comments unless I'm at a stoplight. So I guess you get the live performance benefit, but without the interactive engagement, which can be difficult even if I'm not driving, because I'm not playing a part. I'm not a character, so I actually care about this stuff, so I can get really into what I'm talking about and lose myself in what I'm talking about and lose track of the chat. Here, it's a matter of inability to engage with the chat. At home, it's a matter of lost. I shouldn't say lost, but totally getting into what I'm talking about. Anyway, on that note, this is the Baby Channel. Baby, comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Oh, by the way, look what I did, man. Life is life. Ups and downs. Things are getting a little bit better for me. But that doesn't mean that the normal stuff stops happening. This is my camera, which I haven't actually used in a long time. And I recently started using it because I'm starting to do videos again. And I recorded well, actually I had this as a backup camera as a second angle. And I actually forgot to turn it on, so I actually didn't actually use it. So I took it out for no reason. Well, I took it out to use as a backup camera, but I never actually used it, so it served no purpose. And then what happened? I had it on the back of the truck bed, right? Just sitting there. And then I was shooting so long that it was nighttime, and it was dark, and I was trying to get out of there because nobody else was there. It was kind of like a park type area, so not exactly like I'm not a paranoid freak like a lot of these MAGA people are, where they act like they live in Gaza or something like that. But I like to use common sense, right? In general, I know that I live in a pretty safe country, all things considering. Even with all the gun violence or whatever, it's still relatively safe. So I don't need to go crazy unnecessarily, but I want to use judgment still, right? Like I talked about that guy, that's sniper guy who's going to the beach with an MP5. Like, that's unnecessary. What beach are you going to that you need an MP5? But if I'm alone at a park and it's dark, I'm alone at a park and it's dark and it's kind of stark, I've hit the mark. Oh, it's tough like bark. Okay, I'm not gonna quit my day job. Yeah, that's asking for it, right? No one's around. It's dark. Who knows? And it's like a bushy area. Someone could be in the bushes or something like that. Some weirdo. So I was motivated. Like, let me get up. Let me get the hell out of here, right? It's not safe to be at a park when it's dark and no one's there and you're by yourself, and also you're distracted because you're working with your equipment. So I'm like, let me get out of here. So I started grabbing my stuff and hurriedly moving, and then it's dark. I can't really see, so I didn't see the camera on the back. And it gets worse than that. I think there was a lot of cops out today, like on the side of the road looking for trouble. Anyway, it gets worse than that. I got home. Oh, before I got home, I realized that I left it. I pulled over and I went back to go look for it. It was dark, of course. I was using my cell phone light, and I looked, and even that was kind of crazy because now I'm back at this dark park again, looking, and yeah, that was not a good look. But I was trying to get my camera. It's not cheap. And then looking, and I didn't see it. I left and I drove slowly with my hazard lights. I'm looking, trying to see if it fell off on the road. Didn't see it. Then I came back this morning and I found it. I'm gonna make a guess. I don't know if this is true or not. I honestly think that I'm the one that ran it over. I think it was on the back of the truck, so it would have fell backwards and I drove away from it. So that was fine. But when I was looking for it, I think perhaps when I went back to look for it, I drove over it. I think I'm the one that drove over it because the park was closed, so no one would be there, right, after I left. And then I went there super early in the morning. There was only one person there. Maybe they drove over it. I don't know. But I just feel like I'm the one that did it when I was driving around. Would I have heard it though if I drove over a GoPro? I don't know. But the good news is will you look at that? Now, I haven't actually tried to record video with it, but I think it actually still works. It's just the screen is in a really bad shape. So I guess I can use it to do something with it, a backup camera that actually records video. Anyway, On that note, have a great day.